Hello, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 things your creative writing degree does not teach you. I received a bachelor's degree in English with a creative writing concentration from a well-respected liberal arts college. And while I do not regret my degree and I thoroughly enjoyed the things I learned in college, I do think when you study creative writing, there are certain things you need to know as a future author that your degree does not teach you. So that's what I'm going to talk about in today's video. I will preface this by saying this is based on my personal experience. Like I said, I got my degree from a smaller liberal arts college, and my degree was in English with creative writing, not a separate creative writing major. So people who went to different schools, maybe they did learn these things, but based on my experience and the experience of other people I know, I think these are things that you need to learn from real life experience and your own personal research rather than your degree. I hope that that makes sense. Obviously, I cannot speak for every single creative writing degree in America. This is just based on my experience and the experiences of other people I have talked to. Your experience or your degree may be different. With that all being said, let's get into number 1 on the list. Your creative writing degree may not teach you how to write genre fiction. For the longest time, my dream has always been to be a murder mystery author. When I was in college, I was thinking that I was going to be a contemporary mystery thriller writer, and now I am currently querying a historical mystery set in Regency, England. Murder mystery writing has always been my dream, but when I was studying creative writing, a lot of the people who were in my classes were not interested in writing genre fiction, such as mystery, thriller, romance, horror, sci-fi, etc. A lot of them were interested in writing poetry or more literary or upmarket fiction. There is a big difference in writing for a commercial audience and writing for a literary audience. If you are trying to write literary fiction, your book is not so much about the plot, it's more so about the language and the themes. So I felt like often when we were talking about writing and how to write, we were looking towards classic literature or literary fiction as an example, and that was not the type of writing that I personally wanted to do. I do think, the creative writing classes skewed a little more literary and less commercial. We never talked about the different genres of fiction. And I remember on one instance, I presented the first chapter of a story that I was working on to my professor, and he gave me some form of criticism. I don't remember now what it was. And I said to him, "But professor, this is genre fiction." And he just went, "Oh, never mind, you're okay then." And left it at that, And I definitely, understand that a lot of people who do study creative writing want to be successful literary fiction authors. They want to win prestigious literary awards, and they want to, say profound things about life or change the literary landscape. But that personally was never my goal, and I do wish that we talked a little bit more about the different genres of literature that aren't meant to change the world, but are meant to have commercial appeal. My priority was never to change the literary world. It was just to write stories that people would enjoy reading. And I wish that we talked about the different genres a little more with my degree. The second thing that your creative writing degree doesn't teach you is how to give and receive constructive criticism. This definitely might be different for other people, but since I was going to a liberal arts college where every student, regardless of their major, was required to take some sort of arts course, there were people in my lower level creative writing classes who... What the hell is that? Somebody just drove by with like a roaring engine or something. Could you hear that? Anyways, what I was saying is there were many people in my introductory creative writing classes who were not writers, had no interest in becoming writers, and probably had never attempted to write fiction before in their lives. So because of that, when we were giving each other feedback, we weren't necessarily really diving in deep and giving constructive criticism. We were meant to give every student some compliments and a few areas for improvement, but it was a little bit vague so as not to hurt people's feelings. And because some people weren't serious about pursuing writing, you didn't really want to tell them, hey, this is not good. These are the things you need to improve, because this was not something they were serious about pursuing anyway. And I think because of that, the criticism that we gave each other wasn't as helpful or constructive as it could have been. It was kind of very surface level, pros and cons for each person at times. When you are interested in seriously pursuing writing, you need to learn how to give and receive criticism, because it's very important to be able to share your work with other creators, and you need to learn how to give and receive feedback without tearing somebody else down or feeling attacked yourself. I think it would have been helpful to, give people more in-depth feedback about their strengths and their weaknesses, instead of just saying, oh, I really liked your characters, but I felt like sometimes you use too many adverbs. Like, that's all well and good, but it's a little surface level and not that specific. I think the key to giving and receiving feedback is you need to give people constructive criticism that's not meant to tear them down, but is identifying specific areas for improvement. And you also need to be able to receive that feedback without taking it as a personal attack. Unfortunately, online, I see a lot of people who think their writing is above reproach, and they get very offended when anyone gives them any sort of feedback that's not entirely positive. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's just going to hold you as a writer back, because nobody is perfect. There is nobody who is above criticism. There's always room for improvement. The third thing your creative writing degree doesn't teach you is how the publishing industry works. I don't know about you all, but this is something my degree did not talk about at all. And when I finally wrote a book and wanted to start the process of pursuing publication, I had to research all of that myself. I didn't know what a literary agent was. I didn't know how one went about submitting to a publisher. I didn't know the differences between the big 5 publishers and smaller indie publishers. I didn't know what vanity presses were and how to avoid them. And I think this would be something that would be so helpful to teach your creative writing students, because a lot of them are interested in being traditionally published, and that's something that would be really good for them to know. Even to give courses on self-publishing could be really helpful for people who want to pursue that path. Unfortunately, that's not something my classes ever talked about, and it was something I had to research myself. I do think it would be a great thing to teach students about in the classroom. On a similar note, the fourth thing your creative writing degree doesn't teach you is how to write a query letter for literary agents. This is another thing that I had to research myself this year when I decided I was ready to submit to literary agents. I had to do all of my own research because I don't think the term query letter ever popped up once during my creative writing degree. For those of you who don't know, a query letter is very similar to a cover letter on a job application. Another thing they didn't teach me how to write in college, even though I was going to need to apply for jobs after I graduated. And basically in your query letter, you write to a literary agent telling them about your book, the target audience of your book, and why you think that literary agent would be a good fit for your novel. The letter should be somewhere in the range of approximately 250 to 350 words, 1 page in Microsoft Word, or approximately 1 page, and it should also include information such as your book's title, other popular titles that have been published in recent years that you think are similar to your book so that the agent can get an idea of your target audience. You should tell them your genre for your book and how many words it is. And you should also include a very brief paragraph talking about yourself and any relevant experiences you have that informed your writing of this novel. You can also include any publications that you have. A query letter is difficult to write, and it's so important. Literary agents can get hundreds of submissions every single week. So if you don't impress them with your query letter, odds are they will not request more materials from you. It would be really helpful if colleges gave query workshops, or at least explained what this is to students, because many of the students are going to need to learn how to write one sooner or later. Unfortunately, this is not something I ever learned about, and I had to research it myself. The good news is there are a lot of really helpful videos on YouTube from authors and people in the publishing industry talking about query letters, lots of blogs and forums online with information. So there are lots of good resources out there, but I think it would be very helpful to teach this to creative writing students. And finally, the fifth thing your creative writing degree does not teach you is how to persevere in the face of rejection. Currently, in 2023, it is very hard to get published. The publishing industry has slowed down ever since the pandemic and not fully recovered. So many people are submitting the novels that they wrote during the pandemic, and literary agents and publishing employees are overwhelmed with submissions, some of which are subpar. And because they get so many submissions every day, every week, they do have to reject most of them. They even have to reject manuscripts that actually are legitimately good. So most likely, if you decide to submit your book, your short story, your poetry, you're probably going to get no's before you get a yes. That's totally normal, and while nobody likes to be rejected, it happens to the best of us. Think about how many famous authors were rejected many times before they finally achieved their success. This is something that pretty much every author or artist of any sort is going to have to deal with, because art is subjective. There are going to be people who love what you've created and other people who it's just not for them. And so it would be very helpful to normalize rejection and teach creators how to persevere in the face of repeated rejection over and over again. I know, I'm currently querying, and I just got another rejection on my book this morning. It sucked, but I have to keep my head up and continue to go on. I think this would be a really great thing to talk about with writers or creators of any kind, really. It's normal, it happens, and it doesn't mean that you're not talented. You could be amazingly talented, and you just have to keep going and find the person who's going to believe in you and support you and be your advocate in this journey. So that was my list of 5 things your creative writing degree does not teach you. Let me know what you thought. Like I said, I recognize that my experience is not universal, and maybe some of you got creative writing degrees that did teach you all of these things. Personally, these are things that I wish I had learned when I was studying creative writing in college, and I know a lot of other people feel the same way as me, but I would love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know, what did you learn with your creative writing degree, and how did it help you, and how do you wish that the teaching program could change to be more helpful to future authors? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. If you're still here and you're not sure what to comment, why don't you leave a star emoji in the comment section? Because authors, all of you are stars, and I believe in you. Keep at this, never give up. I fully believe in you and I support you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. My social media links are down below if you want to follow me on Tumblr, Instagram, or be my friend on Goodreads. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye, and I'll see you next time.